After digging up sow thistles and returning home, I caught sight of a wad of cash and a bank card on the table. It seemed that the wealthy husband who'd been found 5 years ago was finally being taken back. I didn't cling to him or beg him to take me along. In my previous life, he took our daughter Dora and another orphan from the village, Yara, leaving me only a single placating line. Leora, thank you for these hard 5 years. I'll take Dora back first. If my mother sees her granddaughter and her mood improves, she might accept you. But I never waited for him to come back. Not until I died. This time, I didn't want to waste any more time. While I was sharpening the knife in the side room, I heard my husband Cleo talking with our daughter. Take everything you need. Tonight say a proper goodbye to your mother. Through the crack in the door, I saw Dora tugging at his hand, her face full of confusion. Why do we have to say goodbye? Isn't Mom coming to the city with us? Daddy, does that mean my mother will be Aunt Yara from now on? Cleo opened his mouth, but no words came out. 5 years ago he drove drunk, fell off a mountain road and lost his memory. I'd found him and brought him home. He'd been pampered since childhood, let alone working in the fields. He couldn't even do simple household chores like cooking, picking vegetables, or washing dishes. I quietly took everything on, looking after him like a child for a whole year. The next year, rumors started circulating in the village. They said I was shameless, letting a strange man stay overnight in my home. It was the village head, who had watched me grow up, who stepped in and forced Cleo to marry me. In the end they only held a modest ceremony, there wasn't even a marriage certificate. The outside laughter pulled me out of my memories. When I went out to sea, it was a few of the village women. They heard that this wealthy heir Cleo was about to be brought back home. They wanted to hurry over and get a cut of the benefits. The Mangs cared about appearances, so of course they'd hand something over. Each aunt took a thick wad of cash, their smiling mouths pulled back to their ears as they uttered a few flattering words. I've long suspected Leora wasn't ordinary. What luck. Not just lucky, but sharp-eyed too. Back when Leora recklessly brought Cleo home for treatment and took such close care for so long, that was no small thing. From now on when we go to town, don't pretend you don't know us. Cleo's face was mortified. Even Dora looked a little at a loss. Only I let out a soft laugh. When I was digging dandelions today, I saw several wild ginseng plants growing over by the cliff. Auntie Lee teased, "You're about to go live the good life in town with Cleo, why pick ginseng? What if you bump your head or hurt yourself, how will you ever be the rich family's daughter-in-law then?" The Meng family's driver was anxious to take him back, but Cleo looked toward the village entrance and said to wait a little longer. Everyone assumed he was waiting for me. Only I knew he was waiting for his beloved, Yara. So when Auntie Lee spoke, I couldn't help but give a self-mocking smile. What's so great about being the wife of a wealthy family? Not half as good as those ginsengs clinging to the cliff. When I returned, Yara was sitting on the lounge chair in our yard, holding Dora and singing nursery rhymes. Dora should learn a bit of everything. Children from rich families are all impressive, they can do anything. She would teach a line, and Dora would sing it back. The two of them mimicked each other perfectly. Cleo had been writing at the window, now she put down her pen and smiled. In that moment I felt like an intruder into their warm life. Yara is one of the few people in our Shin family village who doesn't share the surname. Her father died young, her mother worked away, and a few years ago, for reasons we never knew, her mother went and brought her away. We all assumed her mother had made money and taken her off to a better life. But before long, she came back. I had seen her as a child, pitiable and bullied for having no father, and I had seen the disappointment on her face the second time she returned to the village. So at first I felt a bit of sympathy for her. And once, during a heavy rain, Dora got lost in the mountains and twisted her ankle. It was Yara who saw her and carried her back. When she brought the child home, Cleo was reading. After I carried the child inside, she edged forward and glanced. Cleo really knows a lot, it's a pity he lives here. After that, Yara began dropping by my house every few days. Her address changed from the initial Cleo Big Brother to Cleo Bro, and finally to just Cleo. Several times when I returned from work, Cleo even gave Yara the fish roe I had scooped out of the fish I'd prepared. Yara waved awkwardly, refusing. "This was made by Leora for you all, I couldn't possibly eat it." Dora hastily chimed in, "And Yara, please eat. My father says fish roe is a good thing and should only be given to the best person." "And Yara, you're the best person." I worked dawn to dusk every day, foraging wild greens and mountain ginseng for the two of them, sometimes setting traps and hunting with my own hands. Also they could eat a little better. When the great river first broke its ice in early spring, I jumped in to pull fish from the water. And now they take what I brought and use it to flatter another woman. In my previous life, I confronted them on the spot, my defenses broken. Cleo, displeased, frowned and stepped in to protect Yara. "Sorry, Leora is from the countryside and doesn't know the proper manners." It sounded as if I had embarrassed him. Dora slammed down her chopsticks and said, "Mom, it's not that big a deal, can you please stop making a fool of yourself?" Yara, however, gently took Dora's hand. "Dora, dear, you mustn't speak to your elders like that." Dora's eyes reddened. "I'm sorry, Aunt Yara, I just care about you so much." Yara looked up at me, her eyes full of composure and triumph. In that moment, all I felt was a sting in my chest. Yara's skin was pale and tender, like a peeled bamboo shoot. Standing beside the tall, graceful Cleo, the two seemed utterly mismatched. So when Cleo brought Yara and Dora home in my previous life, nobody ever suspected that Yara wasn't Dora's real mother. When Cleo saw me carrying the basket on my back, he couldn't help but frown and pinch his nose. Every time I came back from work, he'd complain that I smelled of earth. But seeing the ginseng in my basket and the bloodstains on my arms and legs, he felt a pang of guilt. "You actually went to pick ginseng? The cliff is too dangerous, if you fall and break a leg, it won't be worth it. And didn't I give you money? Why suffer for no reason?" His voice grew weaker and weaker. I didn't know if it was because he felt guilty. I gave a cold laugh. "I'm used to it. I can't sit still." After speaking, I went back into the inner room to make the prayer sachets. Cleo said he can't sleep well in the village, he has many dreams at night. So I often make calming, blessing sachets myself and hang them on the mosquito net. Dora looked on with disgust and asked me, "Mom, why are you still doing this? Aren't there good spices in the city? Dad won't have insomnia and nightmares anymore." Yes, the Meng family always had a sense of superiority. In my previous life, when they were leaving, I reluctantly stuffed things into the car. But before the car even left the village, those things were thrown out. Aunt Lee picked them up when she saw and brought them back to my house. She kept sighing, "Leora, I told you, city folk can't be trusted. If back then you'd married someone from the village, you wouldn't have ended up like this." But at the time I only thought it was because my mother-in-law couldn't accept a country girl as a daughter-in-law. So I worked harder, determined to earn more money. I wandered in the mountains for 3 days and 2 nights, found a way to kill a wild boar and dragged it back to the village to sell. I immediately had a phone installed at home. But every time I called Dora, she was impatient. "I'm going to ballet. Aunt Yara is waiting to take me to violin class." I couldn't help myself and secretly went into town to see her. She clearly saw me after school, but she turned and ran quickly into Yara's arms. Then the two of them happily got into that luxury car I had never even seen before. After that, I never went again. Until she graduated from university. I was diagnosed with cancer. The doctor said there was no point in treatment anymore and told me to go home and prepare for my affairs. I called Cleo, and he was silent. "Maybe you should try going to a bigger hospital?" But I no longer wanted to look, I only wanted to see my daughter. When I showed up at her graduation, she looked at my haggard face with not an ounce of pity. She only snapped, "Do you know how important this graduation is to me? Why did you come? You'll make me a joke." Cleo stood to the side watching, not saying a word. In that moment, I understood she was no longer my daughter. She was the daughter of a powerful and wealthy family. What she needed was a well-read, genteel, and proper mother. Not a peasant woman like me. Amid the clamor of drums and gongs, I was driven out of the school gates. A few steps beyond, I suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood and died on the main road. So now I no longer insisted on preparing things for that father and daughter to take back. I only said lightly, "This is for the children at the school." When my father was alive, he took in several children so they could study. After he died, those children had nowhere to go, so they stayed on at the old school. I would go see them occasionally, bring them things, and guide them in their reading. Cleo, however, never paid any attention to me, so of course she didn't know any of this. Dora was stunned. I had always treated her well. Even when she spoke harshly in daily life, I would just smile and let it pass. Yet today I spoke to her with such coldness. She said, somewhat displeased, "They're just a few wild children, why are you doing this for them? Besides, they're country folk, will they even make use of these scented pouches?" So pretentious. But compared to Dora, it seemed those children at the school were closer to me. "You're my mother, how can you be worried about those wild kids?" "Fine, I don't need your concern. I'm going to see Aunt Yara. She said she'll teach me a foreign language." "Mom, do you know any foreign languages?" I didn't even look up. "I don't." She was stunned again. If this were before, I most likely would have cried from her affection for Yara. After all, she is my biological daughter. When she was born, it was a difficult labor, the birth canal was badly torn, but I didn't give up. I had always thought my daughter was the light of my life. Yet in the end, it was my daughter who dealt me the heaviest blow. Dora pouted and stomped off, and Cleo leaned against the door with her arms folded, watching me. "Leora, are you angry? If something's bothering you, take it out on me, don't take it out on the child. I told you I'd come pick you up as soon as I could, what's there to be angry about?" Angry? I was momentarily stunned. In my previous life, after they left, I used to go to the edge of the village every day to look out, thinking he would really come back for me as promised. But in the end he never came. And now he actually has the nerve to ask what I could possibly be angry about. If someone lies enough, do they eventually start to believe their own lies? After a while, a car horn suddenly sounded outside. Someone at the door began to wail loudly. "My child, I missed you so much, I could die." Cleo and I looked at each other, and at the same moment we stood and walked outside. "My child, 5 years, and I haven't seen you, how could you be living in a place like this, filthy and smelly? How much hardship have you endured?" Mary, eyes red, hugged Cleo and stared her up and down for a long time. When her emotions finally settled, she noticed me standing beside them. With a single look she stepped back several paces, collapsed to the ground, and covered her face, refusing to look at me. "Go away, get away." Everyone froze for a moment. I knew that a family like the Mangs would probably look down on me. I just didn't expect our first meeting to be a scene like this. Cleo, trying to soothe the old lady, unconsciously shot me a glare and waved me off. But before I could step over the threshold, I collided head-on with Yara, who had just rushed in. She, uncharacteristically, didn't provoke me. Instead she went straight to Mary. "Grandma, are you okay? Where does it hurt? Let me help you up." "Oh my, I heard you fall at the door and I was so worried." Mary is famously picky about people. So she frowned at me, and everyone felt awkward and at a loss. But what surprised everyone even more was that the elderly woman, who was usually fastidious, didn't push Yara away. Instead, her eyes glittered. She grabbed Yara's hand with ecstatic joy. Though it was their first meeting, the old woman behaved as if reunited with someone from ages past. "My darling, what are you doing here too?" It was only long afterward that I learned Yara resembled the granddaughter of Mary's childhood playmate when he was young. The little girl had been frail and died of a heart condition at 11. That is why in the previous life Cleo was so determined to bring Yara back to the Meng family. So although Yara was also from the countryside, the Meng family readily agreed to their marriage. The moment I learned the truth, my heart ached terribly. Why, when we are both women, has my fate been so checkered? When my mother gave birth to me she caught a chill. I died before I was a month old. My father raised me until I was 15, then a flash flood swept through the village. He was swept away trying to save others and his body was never found. What he left me were a few orphans from the school, this ramshackle house, and the baskets of books he owned. After I carried Cleo back home, the pressure of life grew even heavier. I not only had to pick wild vegetables to sell, I learned to climb cliffs to pluck lingji. I hunted on the mountains and pulled fish from the river. There was nothing I couldn't do. Over the years my skin turned dark and rough. But back when father was still alive, I was a gentle, obedient little beauty. Compared to Yara I had an extra calmness. But when I saw Yara again later, she outshone me in every way. She wore an expensive dress and kid leather heels, and made no sound as she walked. When she sat down with that languid grace, she exuded every kind of charm. She knew I had gone to school to look for Dora and had come specifically to find me. Sister Leora, you and Cleo are completely different kinds of people. You had those 5 years, you should be satisfied. As for Dora, she wants to be a rich young lady. How could she possibly have a country bumpkin like you for a mother? Her words reminded me of how the Mangs treated me. Why had I tried so hard to save Cleo back then? Was it all because that father and daughter always looked down on me? After that meeting, I never appeared in their lives again. Until the end, when I died miserably. Reborn, I will never pour all my thoughts and efforts into them again. That ungrateful husband and daughter, I'll consider them as good as dead to me. The day they left, Cleo gave me a plain silver ring. In the years we were married, I had said more than once that I really wanted a wedding ring. But he said those were only for the city girls. You're a country woman, who would you wear it for? And now that he had given it to me, I didn't want to take it at all. There was a hint of condescension in Cleo's smile. Is it because I'm leaving that you're still angry? If it had been before, I would have been hoarse long ago. Over Yara I had argued with him more than once. He never comforted me. He would only say I didn't understand. Our relationship transcends the feelings between a man and a woman. Don't use your dirty mind to judge us. I sneered at the time, is that so? So when she leans weeping in your arms and you kiss her forehead, that's all just an open, transcendent love beyond the bounds of man and woman? Absurd. He swept his sleeve and left. Later I also dug out the book father had left and read it. But when I came to the line, who taught the red lotus nights year after year, 2 places murmuring, each knowing the other, Cleo only froze for a moment, then gave a scornful little laugh. Leora, go pick some wild greens. At the time I thought he felt sorry for me. Later I realized he looked down on me. He thought it impossible that I could understand song poetry. In fact, those lines were not difficult for me at all. A ring was not expensive to him. But in his previous life he had always been reluctant to spend that money. So in this life, I don't care about it at all. A wedding ring symbolizes fidelity. He is unfaithful in marriage, untrue in love. I don't want his wedding ring. Seeing that I still didn't reach out, Cleo was a little surprised. At that moment, the Meng family began to urge us. Cleo sighed helplessly. Give it to me. What? I frowned in confusion. A sachet. I know you prepared a lot of other things, but I can only take 2 sachets back. So he had always assumed I cared about appearances and lied that the rest were for the children. I sneered, the carriage was too small, I had packed too much, I figured you'd have trouble carrying it, so I gave it all away. The sachets I make are famous for miles around. The embroidery on them is so lifelike. I personally pick the herbs from the mountain, dry them properly, and sew them in. But I have to make a living, so I don't have as much time to make them. The ones I used to have time to make were all hung at the head of their bed. Later, though, they were all thrown away. Cleo still thought I was pretending to be strong. At that moment the car window suddenly rolled down, and Dora leaned on Yara's shoulder and laughed. She urged Cleo to hurry and get in. Cleo, a little guilty, scolded Dora, how can you not say goodbye to Mom? That's rude. Dora still remembered my coldness toward her the day before and turned her face away, ignoring me. But I caught sight of the hair clip on Yara's head. "Give it back to me." "My hair clip, give it back." Yara looked taken aback, then removed it and tossed it to the ground. "This thing's kind of cheap, I almost forgot about it." "But asking for a gift back, Leora, you're the first." At the time she saved my daughter, I had nothing to show my gratitude. So I gave her this hairpin. It was the only gift my father ever gave me while he was alive. That new year, he sold one of his pair of ancestral paperweights to buy me this hairpin. He said, "Leora, when your mother was alive she told me to make sure to take good care of you. You've grown up and father still hasn't given you anything nice." The rhinestones on it sparkle, I usually can't bear to wear it. Dora felt embarrassed in an instant and let out a small eh. They, father and daughter, were often like that, treating money as nothing. Whenever they saw me haggling over a few paltry coins, they'd think I was shameful. Yara fit their expectations better. Gentle, warm, generous. She always had money ready to buy Dora the clothes and candies she liked when Dora needed them. She also always wore all sorts of bright, flowery hair ties. Over time, Dora naturally grew close to her. She became even more resistant toward me. Later Dora developed tooth decay, one tooth was hollowed out and she writhed in pain in bed. Yara cried anxiously. "It's all my fault, I shouldn't have given her so much candy," but I felt sorry for her too. I was just about to get angry when Cleo cut me off. "I know, you treat her like your own child." Seen that way, they really do suit each other better. As Cleo turned to get into the car, he suddenly noticed that all my herbs in the corner were gone. Even the sieve I used for sunning the herbs was missing. He stopped in his tracks, a little surprised. "Where are your treasures?" I relied on those medicinal herbs and spices to cover most of the household expenses. But Cleo especially hated those smells. I smiled faintly, lost it. I had already decided to leave Xinjia village, those things couldn't be taken along, so they had to be dealt with early. The people in the village mostly cow down to the powerful and looked down on others, very cliquish. There was nothing to linger for. In my previous life I refused to leave because I believed Cleo's words, he said he would come back for me. But this time I knew he was lying, and I also understood that waiting was pointless. Cleo sneered, "You should have been discarded long ago. Now you know the Meng family is wealthy, you don't need your junk anymore, right? The money the Mengs give you is enough for you to live here carefree for the rest of your life." Under Dora's urging, they finally left. My daughter never did get to say goodbye to me. But there was no need. She was no longer the precious child I had risked my life to bring into the world. Though she was only a little over 3 years old, Yara had already changed her beyond recognition. Unlike in my previous life, Cleo actually handed me a phone before she left. "If you run into any trouble, call me," she said. "But I don't know how to hit." "I won't take his money either. I find it dirty. I want to go to a new place and live a life that's mine." The first night Cleo returned to the Meng household. He had thought he would feel comfortable and content. Relaxed, even. After all, he'd finally gotten rid of Leora and that backward, foul-smelling mountain village. But he couldn't sleep all night. He kept sensing something missing. Staring at the ornate ceiling, he felt emptiness. He thought there should be a mosquito net, and in front of the net there should hang a fragrant sachet to pray and calm the mind. The perfume in the room struck him as a bit tawdry. He had barely slept. When he woke he felt a little dizzy, dark rings under his eyes. At breakfast he was still somewhat distracted. Mary heard the smacking sounds Dora made while eating and was a little displeased. "Dora, be quiet." Dora felt a bit wronged. Previously when eating breakfast, her mother would check the temperature and only then bring it to her. Seeing the old woman unhappy, Yara intended to help. The old woman put down her bowl and chopsticks and said sternly, "You're old enough, can't you even eat properly? How did your mother teach you?" Yara quickly withdrew and sat properly in her seat. Children are the best at reading the room. In that moment she realized her grandmother didn't like her. Even Aunt Yara no longer protected me with the careless abandon she once had. She suddenly looked hurt, her eyes reddening, tears spilling down. After breakfast, Dora sat lost in thought on the swing frame in the yard. Cleo asked her why she wasn't playing. "I kind of miss Mom." So Cleo dialed the landline number that Leora had set up. But no one answered. Cleo felt a flutter of panic but forced herself to stay calm. "Maybe your mother is busy, we'll call again later." But after that day, the father and daughter were busy as if their feet never touched the ground. Mary was dissatisfied with Dora, thinking she still needed more instruction. From dawn to dusk, dance, music, piano, calligraphy, their schedule was packed. Dora cried until she was exhausted. Mary grew even angrier. Girls of the Meng family aren't allowed to be so delicate. Dora swallowed her tears back. At night, before falling asleep, she tucked the corner of the quilt and sobbed softly to herself. When Cleo found out, she kept saying she wanted her mother. "Before, when I slept, Mom would always sing to me. But Daddy can't sing. How about Aunt Yara comes to sing for you, okay?" Dora remembered how Aunt Yara had been behaving lately and suddenly shook her head in boredom. She murmured, "Mom is still the best." By the time the father and daughter finally managed to visit Xinjia village, it was already a month later. Aunt Li, just like before, had the nerve to come asking for favors again. Cleo handed over a large red envelope and asked her about what Leora had been up to lately. "Is she doing okay? She shouldn't be as petty as before, right?" Aunt Li, however, exclaimed in surprise, "Leora? She left the day you all left." Cleo hurried to that old house. Pushing the door open, she found it already covered in cobwebs. A thick layer of dust lay over the courtyard. It looked as if no one had lived there for a long time. Cleo rushed into the bedroom and saw that even the bedding was gone, leaving only a heap of bare straw. The bank card she had left for Leora before leaving now lay in the pile of straw. He muttered to himself, "Looks like your mother is really angry this time. When she comes back, don't say anything that will make her sad again." Dora nodded, confused but earnest. "After leaving Xinjia village, I went to the city too. During the day I made a few sachets and sold them to a familiar wellness shop. At night I worked part-time teaching at a night school. The pay wasn't much, but it was enough to live on. Before long, I had a small savings. I used to be unwilling to buy new clothes or skincare for myself. The money all went to that father and daughter. Now I could finally be good to myself. I had more time to read, and more time to take care of my skin. Soon, my bearing improved. My appearance became increasingly striking. Even the owner of the wellness shop praised me, saying I was getting more and more beautiful. Leora, your change is incredible. It seems divorced women don't necessarily have to live badly. Actually, what she said wasn't entirely true. Cleo and I never actually registered our marriage, so there was no divorce to speak of. At night school, people even started asking for my contact information. After that, someone confessed to me. Leora, I really like you. Will you be my girlfriend? But I had no interest in love. My head was full of thoughts about how to make myself better. Until one day the owner of the wellness shop called me. She said someone wanted to buy my sachets. He said his family never sleeps well and wants to buy more, so she asked me how many you have. The owner brought him to meet me. Looking at the person in front of me, I was momentarily dazed. His features and expression were uncannily like Cleo's. My name is Leo. I refused at once. But Leo was very good at pestering. He came to the wellness shop to find me every day. Later he even waited by the night school gate. Every day after class, I would see him sitting in the driver's seat of that flashy red sports car, waving at me. Leora, I'm here. The classmates egged me on, and my face flushed bright red in an instant. Big sister, make me a few more, I'll take them home to charm my mother, maybe then she'll agree to give the whole branch to me to run. He came every day, come rain or shine. By the second month, he went straight to confessing. Actually, if I can't buy the sachets, it's okay. Sister, be my girlfriend. You're worth more than any sachet. I nearly spat out my drink. It was the first time I'd heard such cheesy yet fervent words. Choked for a long moment, I finally spoke. I bring bad luck to husbands. My ex lived with me for 5 years, eating on the go and sleeping under the stars, and he ended up ill all over. After we divorced, he immediately recovered. Leo only smiled. That was his problem. What does that have to do with you? Even after I said that, he still refused to give up. If anything, he grew more determined the harder I pushed him away. It left me a little helpless. I was about to turn away when his phone suddenly rang. Big brother, what are you doing? Stop rushing me, I've been busy chasing girls lately. Who is it? A very pretty young lady, and her name is lovely too, Leora. That head suddenly fell silent. Leo even thought there was something wrong with the phone. Where are you? In the quiet, I heard Cleo's voice. Less than 2 hours later, I saw the Mangs, father and daughter. Dora threw herself at me and hugged me. Mom, I missed you so much. Before, she would only say, Mom, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Cleo ground her teeth and hissed, Leora, you really are something, pretending not to care about money on the surface, and secretly seducing my brother. Though I'd suspected it for a long time, the moment it was confirmed I still glanced at Leo. I have no interest in any of you Mang family. Cleo froze, then whispered, after all this time, are you still angry? Mom, don't be angry, I missed you so much. Dora held me tightly, as if afraid I would run away. I, however, pushed her away without meaning to. Mom. Dora panicked. Cleo frowned too. Leora, she's your biological daughter, how could you let her be so hurt? Yes, my biological daughter. In my previous life she, for the sake of wealth and reputation, ignored me, her own mother. Now that I have a new life, what is there for her to be sad about? Only then did Leo react, she's the sister-in-law you've been looking for all this time? Impossible, she says she's a jinx to husbands, her husband was a poor sick man, only after the divorce did she get better. In the end, everyone fell silent. But soon, Leo simply smiled calmly. There's nothing wrong with it, what era is this? Divorce is totally normal. Bro, if you feel uncomfortable, I'll move out and live elsewhere. Cleo said coldly, do you think Mom would agree to you chasing your sister-in-law? Leo raised an eyebrow. Ex-sister-in-law. Oh wait, you two never even got a marriage certificate, so she's just an ex-girlfriend, right? Besides, if you don't want her, can't I? I have no intention of becoming the Mang family's heir. I couldn't help but smash the cup in my hand. Shut up. All of you get out. I kicked all 3 of them out. But to my surprise, they seemed determined, each of them found a place to live near me. They showed up at my door every day like clocking in for work. Sometimes they said they'd drive me to class. Sometimes they insisted on bringing me scented sachets from the wellness shop. Dora even cried to me several times about her life with the Mang family. Mary didn't like her, and Yara was too busy currying favor with Mary to pay any attention. That made her living with the Mangs especially unhappy. After all, I gave birth to her, hearing her cry, I still felt a little reluctant. Mom, can I stay with you? I don't want to go back to the Mangs. I waved my hand. My place is too small, it can't fit 2 people. She lowered her head in disappointment. Cleo hugged Dora with pity. Leora, some things are better left in the past. Let's just live our lives as a family. I scoffed, I used to want us to live together as a family too, but didn't you all think I wasn't good enough for you? They and their daughter stood stunned for a long time. I didn't worry about it. I simply shut the door. After a while, it suddenly began to rain outside. I watched the father and daughter, one tall and one short, walk away under an umbrella. For a moment I felt dazed. I used to stand behind them and watch them leave like that all the time. Only this once the feeling was different. So this is what it feels like to live for yourself, such a beautiful feeling. A few days later, Yara came. She waited for me outside night school, and when she saw me she raised her hand to strike me. I grabbed her wrist and shoved her hard away. Leora, you bitch, how dare you seduce my husband? Cleo chased up from behind with Dora. You can't talk about my mother like that. This has nothing to do with Leora. For the first time, the Meng family father and daughter actually chose to defend me. It showed that after returning to the Meng household, Yara must have been so eager to achieve her aims that she exposed her true nature, which is why the Mengs felt such disgust. Yara's eyes reddened. But Cleo, if you keep not putting your mind on the conglomerate, Mom will be even angrier. Cleo was non-committal. What she needs is someone who can smoothly inherit the company after she's gone. Right now she just wants a puppet, whoever goes will do. It seems there really is a lot of right and wrong in these wealthy family feuds. For a moment I even felt a strange relief that it wasn't me who went to the Mengs back then. Suddenly Yara knelt down before me. Leora, let go. This isn't good for either Cleo or Dora if you keep doing this. I found it a little laughable. Clearly it was them, father and daughter, entangled here, so why shout at me to let go? Was it just because I didn't come from a wealthy family? I looked at Cleo. If you don't want me to see you and be disgusted, then hurry up and leave. Let me have my peace. Cleo froze. I had never said anything so harsh or hurtful. After a long while he spoke, you really don't love me anymore, you really hate me that much? I don't hate you, and I don't love you either. I just want to live my own life, a life without you. Cleo let out a long, deep breath. Dora cried in big, heaving sobs at first and refused to go. Cleo hoisted her up and stuffed her into the car. Only after the car had gone a good distance did I finally relax. I turned to head home. Then I saw Leo standing under the tree with a complicated expression. Sister. Before I could speak, he gave a relieved smile. I know, you don't want to see anyone from the Meng family. I've already returned the house. He took a few steps away, then turned back and smiled at me. Sister, you are truly beautiful. I like you very much. It's a pity I didn't meet you sooner. His figure receded until it disappeared around the corner. After that, I never heard from them again. Only once, by chance, when I returned to Xinjia village, did I hear people talk about them. They said Yara had been driven out of the Meng family. It turned out that when her mother took her to the city, it was to work in the flesh trade. Later she fell ill and was forced to be sent back home to convalesce. She had always been scheming to marry into a wealthy household. In the end, she didn't expect the Mengs had investigated her background thoroughly. She lost the favor of Mr. Meng and his daughter. All the painstaking effort over the years had amounted to nothing, like trying to draw water with a bamboo basket. But I never saw her again. I wasn't interested in their fate. I only wanted to live the rest of my life for myself, to live better and better, more and more brilliantly.